How does the UK's political system actually work? Welcome back to my series, The Politics Playbook, where I, Maddie the Baddie, are talking you through the basics of politics and creating a safe space for you to learn more. And today's episode, we are going to be breaking down the UK's political system. So the UK is a constitutional monarchy, which means the monarch is usually just ceremonial and the absolute power resides within Parliament and the government. Unlike absolute monarchies, the power is limited to a constitution. We are also a parliamentary democracy, which means that as voters, we vote for members of Parliament rather than directly for the head of state. Let's break down the institution. So first we've got us, which is the public. We obviously make our vote for our MPs. Next we've got the House of Commons. They make laws and scrutinise the government, and they are the main decision-making chamber. Next we've got the House of Lords, and they review and improve laws. The House of Commons and the House of Lords, they make up Parliament, which is also known as the legislator. They essentially hold the government to account. And the government, also known as the executive, they obviously run the country and implement laws. Then you've got the Prime Minister, who leads the government, obviously, and then the King, who simply performs constitutional and ceremonial duties. I thought the best way to break this down for you would be to go from a general election all the way to a new government being elected. So first you've got a general election, which we as the public, we vote for MPs, and there is 650 seats in Parliament. So we vote for our MPs, and whoever has the majority of those 650 seats is elected as the new government. So that's parliamentary democracy, because we don't vote directly for the head of state, we vote for the Parliament. So then once those 650 MPs have been determined, they will take their seats in the House of Commons. And then the Prime Minister is appointed, and this is where the King gets involved. The King actually appoints them himself, or Queen, if we had a Queen. Next, the Prime Minister chooses their cabinet, so they will choose ministers to run each government department, and they together make up the executive. Then the government can start proposing laws, and these laws are also called bills. So that's technically the government just setting its agenda and policies. So then those bills will get passed down to the House of Commons, and the House of Commons will debate those bills. And the elected representatives will all collectively decide whether those bills should be passed or moved on from. And then that bill will be passed down to the House of Lords, where they will scrutinise and offer any sort of constructive criticism. It potentially could end up being passed back to the House of Commons, but that's the next step. The Commons generally has the final say, however the Lords are very important for sort of criticising and looking at any discrepancies. And then the next step is what's called royal assent, which is where the monarch will sign that bill, and no monarch has actually objected to any bill since 1708. So whilst the King will sign off on it, he doesn't really have much of a say. Any say would just be passed back to the House of Commons. Then the bill will officially become a law, also known as an Act of Parliament. Then the government, also known as the executive, will then implement that law. They will implement it with their ministers and their civil servants. So once any bills have been implemented into laws, it is up to the MPs, Parliament and Lords to all criticise the government continuously. The Parliament will debate the government's actions, they will examine their policies, and it's basically just a continuous cycle. So that's the basics of how the UK political system works. Let me know if you've got any questions or you want me to dive deeper into anything, and come back for the next episode.